I. I was asked a question about why do you speak of making your work about in service to the other if there is no other? Now, I understand that it can sound like a contradiction if it's heard by the mind. There is no contradiction between the absolute point of view and relativity. Me and you, this relative play, is in no way separate from absolute oneness, no separation. There's no contradiction. Yet, if it's heard by the mind, it sounds contradictory. Because mind can only think in logical terms. How can there be no other? And then you speak about the other. That's not logical. So if that's heard by the mind, if it's heard by the thinking, it makes no sense whatsoever. Yet if it's heard from a wider space of aware, then it's absolutely clear that yes, what is animating this form, what is moving these hands, what is moving these words and giving life to this breath is only one movement of life, intelligence, life force running through all things, shining the stars, flying the birds, crying the babies. There's only that one life intelligence giving life to all things. This is absolute. There is no separation in that. There is no separation in the whole play. There's one expression of whatever we want to call it, consciousness, the source that we can call God. Whatever we want, whatever name we want to give it to it is not that. It's before the name, it's before any label. And it's giving life to these words and it's moving these hands, and it is the same that is listening and hearing these words. And there is a mind, a brain with a mind that is also coming from that. And this brain and this mind has the ability to experience itself as if it is a world by itself, this person, this name and form, me. It experiences itself as part of that whole. The expression of the whole, an individuation, experiencing a separate identity, me. Although this is being experienced, there is no me to find inside here other than that. If we go investigating, we go point by point by point, right down back to its source, we're only going to find the same. Same. So in this play, there is an experience of relativity. Me in relation to you. Me speaking into this camera, this mic, you watching this video, listening, hearing the words. There's a relativity happening. As soon as we are in the world of experiencing, we're in the world of relativity. This in relation to that. So we're going to speak to each other. You can call me Ananta, and I'll call you by your name. We relate to our, whatever the story is, from a place of freedom, knowing that we are not our story. All of this is relativity, yeah? So when we are awake to what we actually are, that doesn't go away. The play of relativity is the play of Leela. It's been called the play of Leela, the play, God's play, the expression of Leela, the play of all things, Shakti, the feminine, the expression of forms, the whole play. God's play, the very fact that there are forms here is the play of relativity. How can that ever be separate from absolute godliness, oneness without a one? How can it ever be separate? So when we are awake as that, when only that is knowing itself, looking through these eyes, and there is no other identity, no separate identity than this, knowing itself, seeing itself, realizing itself. When there is this awakeness is here, does that then mean that we do not play in this play of relativity? Of course not, unless we are someone like Ramana Maharshi or some great sage who just goes and spends the rest of their life in a cave or the top of the mountain. The moment we're in a body, we're in the play of form. We're in relativity. And so we play freely. We play here in this freedom. Does that mean that we don't have normal conversations, that we don't play out the stories of our lives? Absolutely not. No, it doesn't mean that at all. I remember when I very first was clear that I was clear, that I was clear, I remember I was in a relationship with a guy who he was getting the recognition for the first time. It was all new to him. And for me, it was more, I'd been in it for a while. And when he recognized that his pure awareness, that his nature is pure awareness, he turned around, and when I started to relate to him as the girlfriend or whatever it was, and there was whatever coming up in our relationship, he turned around and said to me, I stepped out of the play, yeah? I stepped out of the play. He was German. In case you didn't recognize the accent. And I turned around and I was like, you idiot. This is the play. This is the play. You can't step out of the play. This is the play. This is the play. You can't step out of the play. You step out of identification with the play. There's no identification, yet the play is playing. And let's enjoy the play. So, it's like a lot of, I would say, in the non-duality teachings, it's taken quite a while for many, often the guys, but not always, to catch up with the fact that the play is here. This is what it is to be in human form, is to be part of the play. The fact that the identification with that is cut, the play goes on. As long as life goes on. So when I'm working with people, and they are breaking open and waking up, realizing, recognizing who they really are. And then there are these activations of, say, how the whole thing's been put together, how the whole conditioning has been weaved, and there's this like the level of identity that there's been some wounding in the core identity of, say, feeling not worthy or not enough or not good enough, for example. That wounding in the early psyche can carry on. It can still play out. It still plays out, it can still play out. And that person can be, for example, in life situations or relationship, and that wound gets, they get in situations that trigger that wound of not feeling quite good enough or not feeling worthy. And it doesn't matter if they recognize there's nobody in here. When that's activated, the whole body mind can go through that whole, it's in the nervous system. It's weaved into the nervous system, right? So that doesn't just go away the moment that you recognize who you are. It doesn't just disappear. The identification with that can be cut. There can be no identification with that identification, yet it can still hold a person back. It can still play into their behaviors, being a nice girl, being a good boy, being a whatever, until they actually are encountering, recognizing that they have to encounter stepping into that and standing true in who they really are, who you really are, standing true in who you really are in the face of that. Then all those feelings that are unmet will need to be met in who you are. Directly experienced. Directly experienced with no identification with that identification. And then that whole wave of experience is met throughout your system. And even while there is an activation in the nervous system of feeling, for example, not good enough or unworthy of love or recognition or of really showing up in this world, in the same moment, there's who you really are, who's shining through, going, I'm here to step really into my true expression. And this is an integration process. This is where integration happens, the integration of embodying the recognition of who one truly is. It's where the embodiment comes in. So why do I speak about being in service to the other if there is no other? Because I really am truly in service to the other as no other. If you can hear that without contradiction, then you have heard it from the place from which I speak, in the place from which I speak. If what you hear is a contradiction, the mind who lives in, works, exists in duality is trying to understand. and it cannot be understood by the mind. I am in service to the other as no other. Like, subscribe if you do, share and comment. I'd love to hear from you. Ciao.